Hello and welcome to Lansing Pulse. I'm Ken Miller, joined as always by City Administrator Tim Vandall. We are recording this in late December, so we're rounding out 2023. Let's start first with a recap of economic development in Lansing. So name some of your highlights for the city in the past 12 months. And we've kind of hit this bits and pieces over the year, but maybe just a wrap-up of what's happened this year.
Yeah. So, a few projects, were completed this year that we're incredibly excited about. Family Eye Care got their new building built. They completed theirs earlier in 2023, but that's a wonderful building. If you go in there, there's this really neat optical shop with designer sunglasses. Right. So if you still have some Christmas shopping to do, you could go hit them up. But they did a terrific job on their building. Philemon Dental recently completed, and that's another wonderful addition to Lansing. They moved into that location from their previous spot, kind of by Jimmy John's.
Right.
Their building is just beautiful on the inside and outside, so they did a great job. And then also Take 5 was recently completed, and so they're right on the corner of K7 and Eisenhower. They still have some work to do on the alley in terms of paving it, but I think you can kind of see they tried to shift the alley west just a little bit, and then I think they're waiting on, Time Warner Cable to
utilities.
Waiting on utility stuff.
Right.
But that's the alley is almost completed, but they've been open for business for a couple of months. Mm-hmm. So those three businesses recently were completed. That's probably 20-something jobs more in Lansing. Beyond that, too, that's three more businesses in town that are contributing to the tax rolls, both property tax and sales tax. So that's great. Even beyond those three that were recently completed, you look at two major projects in town center that the ball is just starting to get rolling. So Tractor Supply is under contract for 4 acres in town center, and we're hoping to see them start moving dirt in 2024. They're finalizing their civil engineering plans and working on getting those things submitted to us right now. So that's going to be fantastic. Even beyond Tractor Supply moving to town center, that's going to free up a wonderful parcel right on the corner of K7 and Eisenhower that's going to be desirable to whether it's a restaurant or retail or whatever. And then also with TSC, just south of them, KCC purchased 12 acres in town center.
Right.
So
and the sign's up now too.
The sign is up, so I think that's generating a little bit of excitement, and it's letting people know that, hey, this is going to happen in the next 3 or 4 years. So I think KCC is still working on finalizing their financing plan. But you think about town center and how you're going to have a community college with 500 students per day at the south end of the campus. Then you're going to have Tractor Supply, a major nationwide retailer. That's going to make the other parcels that much more appealing and that much more developable. So we're excited about the 3 projects that were completed, and we're excited about those 2 projects on the southern end of town center.
Right. So on the flip side, I don't think it's a secret that housing expansion in Lansing has been slower than we want, really for the last few years. Now, that said, there is progress. So start with the proposed apartment complex over there on West Mary Street, and this would be east of the elementary school.
Correct. So it's under contract right now, and I think the property will close in January. The buyers are the same people who own the Covington Woods apartment complex. So the thing about that, so they utilize tax credits from the state in order to make their project work. So with the tax credits, there are some income guidelines. But I think sometimes people hear that and they think, this is going to be this terrible thing. But you look at the income guidelines, and people making $43,000 a year can live there. That's people who are perhaps firefighters, police officers,
and that's single person, teachers. Not family.
Single person, and so you look at it too. A single mom with a couple of kids making $50,000 a year could live there. So there's certainly a lot of opportunity for people to live there. Because right now, housing is just so expensive, and it's challenging to live in Lansing and other areas further south of us. So this is something that I think it was a program that President Reagan even began in the 80s, just to give people a good place to live, to get them started, and then hopefully they can save money for a house someday. But that's going to be 50 units near the elementary school. Some of the units I think will be around $1,000 a month. Some of them will be around $1,300 a month. It depends on if it's a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom, and also has some contingencies based on a person's income. Again, kind of piggybacking on that theme of town center and making the town center properties more appealing. You think about that, if that's a 50-unit apartment complex, say roughly that's 100 more people living in Lansing. Right. That's 100 more people who are going to scooters, going to Sonic. Maybe
within walking distance.
Within walking distance. So it makes those other parcels more appealing for future restaurants, future retail, and things like that. So the other thing that I will say too, because I think sometimes maybe people don't realize this, but I mean, this is a project that's going to be fully on the tax rolls year one. So you look at some of our commercial projects like, Take 5 or whatever, they qualified for that neighborhood revitalization program. So they were able to get a portion of their property taxes back. Whereas this is fully on the tax rolls year one. So again, we're excited about that. We still are working on finding maybe more single-family developers, and we're getting some leads on things like that. Right. But it's challenging. Those types of things are incredibly expensive to develop, and then interest rates above 7% don't really help. Right. I mean, I think interest rates right now worry a lot of developers, and that slows things down. But
it seems to be trending in the right direction. I think they just recently dropped below 7%. Okay. But still, it's way higher than it was 2-3 years ago.
Exactly, you're right. So I mean, I think some people are a little bit hesitant right now, but again, we're working with some prospects, and hopefully we'll see some movement on the single family front in the next year. I want to say in 2023 we maybe had 8 or 10 building permits, and a few of them were duplexes, and maybe 5 or 6 single family houses. Right. So not as many as we'd like, but again, I think there's a lot of potential on the horizon that we're excited about.
Right. Okay, let's stay in that same section of town. At what point in 2024 can residents expect to start seeing physical progress on the city's aquatic center? And that's going to be located over on West Mary as well. That's very close to the intersection with Bittersweet.
Yeah, so there is a little bit of nuance in the answer to this question. Okay. So overall, the project is going out to bid in the next couple of months. So folks could expect to see construction taking place in early 2024, maybe that March, April, May timeframe. Now, where it is kind of unique, there are some areas nearby that are designated as a long-eared bat habitat or roosting habitat or something.
New. Oh, I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, and I always tell people, like, it's interesting when federal regulations kind of come down to Lansing and you see how it impacts us. But so our engineers right now are trying to figure out, I mean, does this area qualify as a bat habitat? If it does, we would have to remove the trees prior to, I think, April 1st. So it's possible you could see the trees being removed before that, because I think based on that rule, you would have to remove the trees before the bats start nesting there.
Gotcha.
So that's something that our engineers are working on right now, trying to figure out, does this qualify as a long-eared bat habitat? And if it does, we have to take down the trees a little bit earlier. So removing the trees would then be kind of a separate project almost, instead of the construction. So
we have to resettle the bats.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
We'll see, but anyway, so we are working on that, and that kind of leads into throughout that process, we would have all of these people kind of reaching out to us about, hey, did you think about this? Did you think about this? Did you think about this? And the answer was always, yeah, we did.
Right.
And we had
a committee.
We had a committee, and we had experts on our team. And if you would have asked me, if I'm familiar myself with the bat habitat rules, I probably would have told you no.
Right.
But again, that's why we hire those experts who know those types of things. And those are the people who are going to bat on our behalf,
Yeah, I saw what you did.
Yeah. Going to the state on our behalf to verify, does this qualify, does this not, and if it does, how do we rectify it?
And we're doing it early because there have been other instances where municipalities and counties have moved forward on something and then in retrospect found out there was something and they had to go back and change things at much more expense.
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly noticed earlier in the process. So again, we're taking those steps. And again, you can still remove those trees, but you have to do it before the bats would start nesting.
Right.
So,
Right.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So let's stay with the 2024 theme. The city is looking at 4H Road and Valley Drive, their storm sewer replacement. That's a pretty big project. So I guess first, how, and most importantly, I suppose, how will it affect drivers in Lansing? And also talk a little bit about the scope of that project.
Yeah. Well, so, first off, I'll take you back a little bit. So this project was programmed in the 2023 budget. And originally, we were going to do like a pipeliner underneath 4H Road. And pipeliners are fantastic if you want to extend the life of a relatively good pipe. It reduces the rust, it can extend the life of them. But if there's maybe structural issues with the pipe, then it's not the best idea.
Right.
So they were getting the ball rolling, Line Weaver Construction, on the portion of Valley Drive that they were replacing. And then as they dug up that area, they realized, hey, yeah, it's in worse shape than we realized.
Right.
So we realized, hey, a pipeliner is not a good idea here. With thousands of vehicles driving over 4H Road every day, we realized, hey, we can't just put a pipeliner in this pipe. We need to completely replace that pipe. So the scope of that project changed between 2023 and 2024. So I want to say we're shooting for May or June to replace that pipe. We're trying to do that once school is out, because that is one of the big traffic drivers on 4H Road is that school traffic. So once school is out, we're going to be completely replacing that pipe. I believe the specs right now call for like a concrete pipe, whereas right now it's a corrugated metal pipe. Similar to what we were talking about before, there's certainly times when corrugated metal pipes serve a purpose, and areas where there's minimal traffic and things like that, they can serve a purpose. Sure. But underneath a road that services thousands of vehicles per day, we felt like we needed to get that pipe out of there and get it replaced. So it will impact drivers for maybe 2 or 3 weeks in the early summer months of 2024. But again, the whole goal there was to miss that school traffic and get that pipe replaced.
And we'll get information out about the detours well in advance.
Oh yeah, we're at least 6 months out from it, so there's plenty of time for people to make those accommodations. But again, we're just trying to replace the existing pipe with something that's going to be a long-term solution. Right.
Okay. Lastly, about a year from now, so December of 2024. Lansing and our country will be through another election cycle. So talk a little bit about your hope as we move into primary season next, I guess it would be late summer, and then beyond.
It'll be interesting. So on the local level, we don't have any city council elections in 2024, but we do have a mayoral election in 2024. Regarding 2023, one of the things that I was just really impressed with the city council election, we had 6 terrific candidates, and at the city council level, it was certainly issues-based and fairly cordial, I would say. And it's one of those things where I remembered thinking, like, why can't all elections be like this? Issues-based, cordial, and just a free flow of ideas. So, things like that are always my hope for elections, and unfortunately, it seems like as the level gets up, sometimes it gets less issue-based. But I'm just so proud whenever I see our city council elections, or just in general, local elections, when they're bipartisan and when you can see people working together. And I know even on the level of our city council, you might have some folks who lean one way and other folks who lean another way, but I am just so proud of our group of city council members when they leave federal politics at the door and they work to keep Lansing moving forward. And I'm just so proud of our group when we do that. And I guess I'd say that's my hope. I hope state and federal elections look more like Lansing City Council elections.
Okay, I've been speaking with City Administrator Tim Vandall for Lansing Pulse. I'm Ken Miller.